This wasn't too long ago. It was August 2017, almost a year from this point. But I don't count a year being that long, as many people do. Years seem to be passing by the older I get. Anyways, I used to work at a chicken restaurant. Many of my friends will know where this place is. I don't work there anymore, but I worked there for a good while. One day I decided I wanted to trip on shrooms, and I wanted to buy 9 grams. I was debating whether I should do 9 or 10, but I thought, would it really make that much of a difference? Well, yes, but I figured 9 grams would be enough. The reason I debated on how much I should take was because I was going to trip at work. Now, you may think I'm stupid, which it was a very impulsive action, but I just wanted to see what it would be like. See, every day I would come in at 3 p.m. and leave at 11 to 12 a.m., depending on how busy we were and how long it took us to get out. It was me, my buddy, and it varied on who else was working in the back with us. Mostly it was me and my buddy working there. On this day, I was working on the chicken station, where I would flour up chicken, batter it, put it in the fryer, then set it up to sell. So everyone there always tries to bullshit their way into a cigarette break or smoking a blunt behind the dumpster by getting trash out. So I decided, hey, here's how I'm going to eat the shrooms. I'm going to take some trash out so then I can pretend I'm doing something important like everyone else does, so I can take them. And basically I did. I took some trash out and I ate them behind the dumpster. I choked the 9 grams down and then came back in. So nothing really hit me. I was working and I was thinking, damn, I'm not really feeling anything, because it was 30 minutes past, and usually it hits me about 15 minutes, but that doesn't mean anything. It's different every time. So after 30 minutes, I wasn't really feeling anything, but then this sudden paranoia hit me where I was just like, what if I trip way too hard? Obviously, I should have thought of that before taking it, because, hey, 9 grams. I mean, think about it. That's 9 grams of shrooms. That's a lot of psilocybin that is going to be affecting you. Too much to act sober or natural while at work. So thinking that was kind of giving me bad feelings on it, making me dread feeling anything at all. I might lose my job. I was thinking things can go wrong, you know. This is where I am setting myself up for a bad trip. See, I'm so paranoid, and it could rub off into the trip. Although, every time I trip on shrooms, I am worrying about something completely different than what I thought I was going to be worried about. Hell, you'll be worrying about people noticing you being high at first, but then when the shrooms actually kick in, you're going to be, like, worried about a completely different topic that may seem trivial to people that are sober. Anyways, after worrying and working, I start thinking, hell, I should just enjoy it. Even if I do lose this job, what am I really losing? A fucking chicken joint job. So I say, fuck it. Let's enjoy it. Let's go out with a bang. I know that's very irresponsible of me, but hey, I'm trying to save my life here. I mean, I could potentially worry myself so bad that I could really, really get fired. Or I can just trip and enjoy it and, you know, have people be suspicious of me being on something and potentially not lose my job. So it's either I walk out and actually lose it, or face the consequences of being an idiot and actually just trip at work. And so I chose to do so. Now, at first, things were very euphoric. Very euphoric. Things were just more, I don't know. I just felt like I was one with everything. I felt like everything was beautiful. You know how it is. Whenever it first kicks in, everything is just beautiful, and you just kind of stop worrying about things. I was expecting the paranoia and anxiety to intensify, but it actually silenced. I mean, it was still there in the back of my mind, but I was more focused on how happy I was feeling. I would make the chicken, I would put it up there, and I would just do it in the most happy mood ever. People kind of looked at me weird because I'm never really in that much of a good mood. I'm usually just in a quiet mode. But I showed so much care towards everything I was doing. It was kind of funny, actually. Anyways, I was just showing so much, like, enthusiasm in all the work I was doing. Like, let's make it perfect. Even though it's so simple, I was just making sure I floured each chicken piece perfectly, and I wanted to put it in there, like, organize it inside the fryer so whenever I get it out of the basket, I can put it inside of the pan and make it look good. It was very, very apparent to my friend that I was tripping because I was just so happy and out of it. I was looking at the ceiling, I was looking at the floor, and I was just taking in the world. So I went out for a cigarette break, and then that's when the visuals started kicking in really strong. Every time I'd close my eyes, I would see this beautiful looking woman. She was all blue, but it was like she was trying to seduce me, if that makes sense in my head. I would close my eyes and see her licking her lips and shit like that. It was really weird. When I opened my eyes, there wasn't too much to see that was special. My vision was slightly jittery, like there was some mass around it. It felt like everything was just more soothing to touch. The door handle to go back in felt like cotton. Everything just felt more soft. I came back in and it was time for my lunch break. So I clocked out and I just wasn't hungry at all. I had no appetite. I just was more interested in my trip. I was happy that it was my break time though, because now I can just focus more on the trip. I went to the bathroom real fast and I looked at myself in the mirror for a second. My eyes were blasted. My pupils were so dilated, it looked like I had almost no iris. I could see a little bit of green, but mostly black. All pupil. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating it, but at the time, it just seemed like my pupil made up most of my iris. So I left the bathroom, and I sat down on one of the tables. I just felt like it was too closed in inside. I wanted to go outside, so I did. I went outside, and I lit a cigarette, and I was just looking at the road and all the cars passing by on the highway, and it was just mesmerizing. Everything was breathing. I don't know how to explain it, but the grass, the trees, the highway, everything was breathing. It looked like everything was alive. I know that may sound creepy, but when you're experiencing it, it's quite amazing. Almost every solid object in my field of view had these black dots on it that were glaring at me. I soon come to realize that they were eyeballs. It looked like everything was alive and looking at me. I started getting this feeling that I can only put into words as being underwater. It felt like I was submerged underwater. Not that I couldn't breathe or anything, I could breathe just fine, but it felt like I was moving slower. The only way I could put it into words is like if you were in a swimming pool, and when you're trying to walk around in a swimming pool, there's just a little bit of weight you have to push through because you're underwater. And that's what it felt like. It did kind of feel good though. It felt like I was more relaxed. The visuals started getting stronger as well. The girl I was looking at earlier when I closed my eyes started becoming something I saw even with my eyes open. They weren't just closed-eyed visuals anymore. It was as if I was going blind because every time I would stare in one direction, she would make up almost my entire field of view. She would fade away every single time I'd look into a different direction. But if I were to stare in one location for a few seconds, she would make up my entire field of vision. The thing is though, is that I could still see things that were actually there, but it's like she was this transparent being, and it was just really weird. Because if I were to stare and focus on her, she would duplicate. She would become these geometric patterns. I could see her, but there was these different versions of her, different stances she would do. And she would spin around in my vision. It was quite beautiful, actually. The visuals started to intensify to the point where I would feel blind. I'd feel blinded by seeing this girl. Some things would change. Every time I would think really hard about something, I can almost see it. But that's how it is even on a low dose of shrooms. So I still wasn't amazed yet. I was amazed, however, by the body high I was getting. I was getting this strong sense that I was underwater, like I said. I went back in, I clocked in, and I got to work. It's like I was running on autopilot because I was focusing so hard on the trip, yet at the same time working at a regular rate. Some time went by, and I started forgetting where I was. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I knew I was working, but I forgot why. I forgot what it was all for. I started getting these really negative vibes from everyone around me. They were just all negative, like they weren't enjoying their time. Obviously, they're at work and sober. I know that now. But at the time, I didn't really get that. I kind of forgot that I was high. I felt like that's how life is supposed to be. Everyone just seemed so hateful towards each other, towards what they were doing. My mindset at the time was, why is everyone not being positive at all? Why is there so much hate in the air? I mean, I know that they weren't actually acting that way, but I was so fucking tripped out that I thought everyone was just evil. It was really weird. Obviously, since they're sober and they're trying to work, they shouldn't have to act all positive and everything. I mean, it's work. It's their shitty job they don't want to work at, so they don't have to act a certain way. But at the time, I wasn't understanding those things. I was just looking at things in a completely different light. Anyways, I started getting these weird patterns of thoughts. Different paths opened up in my head that were just full of paranoia, that just complete senseless paranoia. See, I started thinking the reason everyone isn't enjoying anything here and I am is because maybe now my mind is open and now I see what this place really is. I was thinking I was a slave. So I went to my friend and I said, "Hey, we need to get out of here." He said, "What? We need to get the fuck out of here." This is where I forgot his name. I forgot my own friend's name. I knew that I knew him, but I just didn't know his name. I didn't know who he was to me. I just knew we need to get out of here because I was being so senseless at the time. I was so tripped out that everything around me was just telling me that I need to get out of here, that this isn't a place I need to be. I thought I was being held captive. My mind was telling me that this place was keeping me a slave, and that is why we are all wearing the same uniform. I got back to work, and I looked down at the chicken and jumped a little bit. Looking at it, all my mind could make of it was human flesh and guts. That was my first conclusion, and I backed up. My first thought was to run out the back door. Someone was going for a trash run, so I sprinted out the back, and then I ran into the grass near where the drive-thru Myuu is, and I was just panting. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I needed to calm down. I started seeing falsified memories of what I just saw. I actually believed that I saw human body parts in the tub of chicken. Since I was tripping so hard, the falsified images were like heads, arms, fingers. The worst I could think of. So I just pulled out a cigarette and started smoking. I knew in the back of my mind that I was overreacting, and I knew deep down that I was okay. I saw the guy come out with the trash, and he pulled out a cigarette himself and started smoking. He sat there for a second, started talking to me, and I said, "What's up?" It kind of calmed me down, knowing that someone else is smoking a cigarette. It made me realize that maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I need to go in there and take a second look at what I just saw. But before I could go back in, I started realizing that I am on full autopilot. I wasn't really scared anymore of what I saw, or what I thought I saw. It was as if I completely lost all memory of where I'm at and even who I am. It kept giving me this heart rush feeling just to look at my hand, to look at my arms, to look at who I am, to look at everyone around me and not know what's going on whatsoever. It was as if I was a consciousness just experiencing, with no fear, no anxiety attached to it. It was quite beautiful. It was almost as if I was back to being on autopilot, because I started working again. It was time to close. I did the floors, and I cleaned my station up, and it was time for me to go. And the girl came back to my vision. The blue girl. Oh, she was so comforting, and I was so happy to see her again. All the fear went away every time I saw her. It was quite a sight. Once I got home, I hopped in the shower, and I sat in the shower while it was running and closed my eyes. I was just feasting my mind on what I was experiencing. I started seeing different pathways. Each pathway led to different memories of my life. Things would start coming back to me, but I would have to experience them again. I didn't have to experience every memory, but I experienced the memories that mattered to me. Things that I had nostalgia towards, things that I've regretted, things that I've loved, everything. And I would see what kind of a person I was, slowly coming back to me. I realized a lot from this experience. I saw what kind of a person I was towards the people that loved me. I haven't shown as much love as I should to the people around me. I've always been very stubborn, not willing to listen to what others have to say because I have always believed that I am right. And that is just a very ignorant way to live. I saw people that I've hurt. I've saw people that have made me happy and I took them for granted. After the trip, I realized that shrooms was showing me a lot of the things in my life that I need to work on. A lot of the things that I've been hiding from, things that I'm not trying to face, things that I have not come to terms with. It helped me see the areas that I need to better myself in. But if there's one thing that you need to take from this, it is don't trip while working. Alright?